Explore art, music, and literature in colonial America. A major part of the story of a nation is its culture, or ways of life. Culture includes practical things, like the food people eat, the clothes they wear, and the kind of shelters they build. It also includes creative activity, such as literature, music, and art. In fact, the word culture is often used to mean only this creative part of a nation's way of life. A people's art, music, and literature reflect their ideas, feelings, and tastes. For this reason, studying creative works can tell us a great deal about a society and its people. This is the first of 3 sections about American culture during different periods. Each reading looks at examples of creative works and how they reflect their times. Art, music, and literature in the colonies. It took time for Americans to develop their own culture. English colonists brought with them English ways of life. Other colonists brought their own habits and tastes from other European nations. In terms of lifestyle, the colonies were an outpost of Europe. In addition, few early colonists could afford to spend their time on creative activity. They had their hands full just surviving on the frontier. Instead, these colonists imported their art and literature from the Old World. Colonists read European books and listened to European music. Wealthy colonists bought European paintings and sculptures. Sinners in the hands of an angry god. A great deal of early colonial literature and music had religious themes. This was especially true in New England. The Puritans made religion the center of their lives. Those with artistic talent used it for religious purposes. Some wrote hymns. Others composed sermons, or religious talks. In the 1730s and 1740s, a great tide of religious feeling swept the colonies. This movement became known as the Great Awakening. It was led by a New England preacher named Jonathan Edwards. Edwards was a powerful writer and speaker. He used his talents to compose fierce sermons. These speeches described a God who hated sin and would cause sinners to burn forever in hell. One of Edwards' most famous sermons is called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Edwards told his listeners, "Your wickedness makes you as it were heavy as lead, and to tend downwards with great weight and pressure towards hell, and if God should let you go, you would immediately sink and swiftly descend and plunge into the bottomless gulf." Everything depended on God, Edwards said. All people were sinners, and only God's hand kept them from falling into the eternal punishment they deserved. Edwards described God as holding sinners over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider, or some loathsome, hateful insect. God's anger, Edwards thundered, burns like fire. He looks upon you as worthy of nothing else, but to be cast into the fire. Edwards' sermon greatly affected those who heard it. People rose out of their seats, weeping and moaning. The sermon, and people's reaction, shows the intense religious feeling of the Great Awakening, and how stern the Puritan religion could be. The death of General Wolfe. Artists depend on having people around with the money to buy their work. As the colonies became more prosperous, talented colonists could start to make a living as artists. Often they made a living by painting portraits for wealthy families. One of the first important colonial artists was Benjamin West. West was born in Pennsylvania in 1738. Like other artists of his day, he painted a number of portraits. He also painted historical scenes. Perhaps his most famous historical painting is The Death of General Wolfe. West's painting shows an incident from the French and Indian War. British General Wolfe is dying from a wound suffered during the British siege of Quebec in Canada. 3 British soldiers are holding Wolfe as he lies on the ground. Above him there is a British flag. Other soldiers are gathered around. An American Indian is also in the scene, looking thoughtfully at the dying general. In many ways, West's painting is realistic. His American Indian is true to life, and so are the uniforms on the British soldiers. That may not sound like a very original idea, but it was. In Europe, painters at this time didn't bother with realism when they wanted to show a heroic scene. Instead, they painted their heroes wearing clothes from Greek and Roman times. It was their way of dressing up a scene. West painted a more realistic picture of the New World. At the same time, he posed the people in the painting in a grand, heroic style. The soldier's sad expressions tell us that Wolfe's death is tragic. The dramatic lighting and the way Wolfe is posed even imitate paintings of the death of Jesus Christ. These touches tell us how West and other British subjects felt about their country and its heroes. The painting's religious feeling shows that, for some people, patriotism was becoming as meaningful and important as religion. You can find pictures of West's painting of the death of General Wolfe on the internet. Try searching for the name Benjamin West and the title of the painting, The Death of General Wolfe. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards, delivered Enfield, July 8, 1741, published Boston. Neeland and Green, pp. 12-13, 15. Entire selection.